Buongiorno, come stai? Today we're going to have a look at this pen. And this is a pen that I will honestly say I have been eagerly awaiting for a long time. This is a Leonardo, Leonardo Officina Italiana. I have reviewed a few of their pens. This is a MomentoZero, but this is a MomentoZero that has been washed too coolly, and then it becomes a MomentoZero Grande. And the Grande is a, as the name suggests, larger version of the regular MomentoZero. Comes with a large range of nib options in gold, in steel, has a built-in, call it a captive converter or call it a piston filler if you prefer that. Is bigger than the regular model. It's quite nice. It's available in all kinds of beautiful materials. It's no secret, I really like Leonardo. I think it's a very interesting brand. I really like their pens. So I was very enthusiastic when I heard that they were making a bigger pen. So I'm going to cover the parts of the pen. I will do a writing sample. I will tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it. But first of all, a very kind thank you to Joost from Appelboom Pennen, who has kindly lent me this pen. And if you really thought this was just a lending scenario, tough luck! Let's get started. Okay, so here we go with the MomentoZero Grande. So I took out these little booklets just so I wouldn't have to fiddle with the box so much, but you get this nice little booklet which has some detail on the pen and on the brand, which I thought was quite nice. Then there is a little information sheet on how you should not try to remove the piston or captive converter, so you will. Then there is this cardboard outer, very tight, sleeve. And then there is the box, which is in yet another cardboard outer sleeve, so you really have the feeling you're unwrapping something here. And then we have the actual box, and in the box are two things. A wee bottle of ink, which I think is very nice. Nice that you get an ink with that now. I have not inked up this pen with that ink because it's a turquoise and I didn't find that the best match for this brown. However, I have inked up a pen with it to show you what it's like. Here we have the actual pen. I'm just going to put away the box. And I will show you this pen in relationship to some other pens. So here we have the MomentoZero Grande next to a Lamy Safari. You can see it's a bit longer and also a bit girthier. And here you have the MomentoZero Grande next to a regular MomentoZero. So you can see there's definitely a bit of difference in length as well as girth on that pen. So let's cover that pen, the parts of that pen. So, as I said, in a nutshell, a larger version of the regular MomentoZero. They come in a couple of finishes. They have a captive converter. You can also call that a piston filler. I'll come back to that. You can get a lot of nibs, extra fine, medium, broad, and stub in steel. And the pen will set you back about 325 US. And then you also have extra fine through broad and stub in gold. And the pen will set you back about 545 US. And that depends a bit on where you buy it. This I've based on European pricing, but that does involve a typically around 20% VAT, so you have to take that into account. The pens are handmade in Italy. I always find that Salvatore, who makes them, uses gorgeous materials, great polishing. This pen is no exception. It's very, very pretty. The section of this pen looks, well, you know what, I'll get to that. The section looks very similar to the regular MomentoZero, but I'll show you that in a sec. So the parts of this pen. Top of the pen you have this conical shape. They are hand turned in Italy. We have a clip that is the same clip that you find on the regular, on the regular MomentoZero, same size, which now looks a little smaller because the cap is a little bigger. We have 3 rings there on the cap, then we have a nice ring on the barrel, then we have the barrel. It says Leonardo Officina Italiana, this is number 495. I do not believe these are limited, but Salvatore does number all his pens. And here you have a blind cap. What's a blind cap? That is a little thing you can unscrew, and then you can access the piston, aka converter, captive converter in this pen. I've always liked that. That means you don't have to unscrew the barrel if you don't want to, and you get the feeling you're actually using a piston filler. Nice sort of vintage system. Here we have the pen, and I know that you want to see this right next to a regular MomentoZero. Now they will roll a bit. I'll try to align the sections a bit there. You know what? I'm just going to put one finger on them to hold them in place. That shouldn't really detract from the size estimate, right? So again, it looks like the Grande section is very similar in size to the MomentoZero, the normal sized section, but there is a tiny bit of a difference. They are similar in shape though, and both have a number 6 nib. Okay, another thing that is different in the Grande is that you have a nice little metal ring at the end of the section. And what I noticed here, I found interesting, is that in this case this is a steel stub. It has an ebonite feed, not plastic. There's a nice ring there as well. And then what about this captive converter? Well, there you have it. So this is, even though it looks like it's threaded in there, this is not something you should attempt to unscrew because it is affixed in place. What is nice is that it's quite a large capacity. So again, I guess I should show you. One sec here. If you compare this to a regular converter, especially in diameter, you will see there is a somewhat bigger capacity in... Oh, that wasn't fit, was it? There is a somewhat bigger capacity in the Grande. And here you can see that the section is not the same on the MomentoZero and the MomentoZero Grande. Just wanted to establish that here. Okay, so a larger pen, right? A pen that, if you want to, does post, then it really becomes quite big. I think this is a fantastic size because it is a nice larger pen without being excessively huge. So I think a lot of people will be able to get along with this pen, but not everyone. For some, this will be too big, and I've already found one friend in Calgary who found it a little big. So I would say this is a pen you may want to try out. Not necessarily easy because they're not necessarily super widely available in shops. But if you have an opportunity to try someone else's out, I definitely would. Okay, so, whoops. The Leonardo MomentoZero Grande. Here we have the, this is the copper, which I'll be honest is one of my favorite finishes. We have a steel stub, and the ink is B.R.E. brown. I thought that would be a good match for this very pretty material. Okay, now just so you know, because I know someone will ask, this is the turquoise. Oh, turquoise. That is the ink that came with the pen. Okay, and that was a Leonardo Furore model. Okay, let's do some writing. As always with a stub, you have to align it properly to the paper, and if not, you'll get skips, right? I have found though that once you hold this pen properly, it's a pretty solid writer. I have also found that the nib, to my liking, could be just a tiny bit wetter. You see a couple of skips here, and I have the feeling that would be resolved if it was just a tiny bit wetter. But that is something I could fix myself. For sure it writes. It's just my personal preference. Wetness, this is Rhodia paper. It's, as I said, it's not, I wouldn't call this a gusher, but in my mind pretty well tuned. Well, line variation, of course, this being a stub, there is natural line variation because of the way the pen is made. but you can squeeze out some more. As always, very, very careful. So there is that. Yeah, reverse writing with a stub. This is not necessarily something that works really well with stubs if they don't have round tipping, or in this case any tipping, right? So I wouldn't necessarily purchase it for that. Okay, so go on. Let's see what I like about it and what I don't like about it. Alright, what do I like, what do I not like about the Leonardo MomentoZero Copper Grande, or Grande Copper I should say. I like a lot about it, and let's be fair, I have been enjoying the Leonardo pens a lot. I've posted a lot about them on Instagram. I have been quite positive in my reviews of these pens. I like Leonardo, I like Salvatore, I like what he's doing. Handmade Italian pens for a relatively affordable price, especially if you, I mean the celluloid is more expensive, but those are also piston filled, they have gold nibs. You can have a reasonable Leonardo with a steel nib, with a cartridge converter for not that much money. Especially if you look at what other manufacturers are doing, they are relatively affordable, and I find that really cool. Only issue is, I wish they were bigger. But that's just me. Like, this is a normal MomentoZero, nothing wrong with it. I just wish it was a little bigger. So when I saw the Grande was coming out, I was like, boom, we need this. And that's exactly what happened. So, the Grande, what do I think? I think it's fantastic. I'll be honest, I think it's fantastic. I love it. Handmade in Italy, beautiful materials, nibs that write well. Now captive converter, large capacity. What more can I say? Like, look at this. Is this pretty or not? In my mind it is. So, I don't have that much to complain about. It ticks all my boxes. Large, good ink capacity, nib that writes well, ebonite feed, that's really sweet. So I think it's quite nice. Now, what can we say about it? Because I also have to list some negatives. Well, the price has gone up. For a steel nib, and remember extra fine, medium, broad or stub, you pay $325 US. This is converted price, okay? It may depend a little bit on where you get it. I based this on Appelboom's website because that's where I got, the Appelboom sent me this pen. Maybe if you shop around, maybe if you do find someone in your country, it may be a little cheaper, you know, depending on, because this is with, I think this was with European VAT. So it could be a little cheaper. Extra fine, medium, broad stub in gold would be $545 US. So that's definitely going more up there, right? On the other hand, if you look at what the original celluloid MomentoZeros cost, that was about that price. But again, then you're buying piston filler, celluloid, etc. Well, in a way, you could consider this a piston filler. And I don't want to get into the argument of is this a piston filler or not. Some would call this captive converter, some would call this a piston filler. In my mind, if the mechanism cannot be removed, then it is a piston filler. The cartridge converter also has a little piston in it, right? Except you pull out or screw out that converter, and in this case you can't remove it. Then in my mind it is a piston filler. What I will also say is the capacity is bigger. The ink capacity in this pen, quite simply, is bigger than the capacity of a cartridge converter filled pen. And that's all there is to it. So, in my mind, that's fine. Now, we can split hairs, and of course you can say, yeah, but it's still a captive converter. Yeah, sure, yeah, it is. Sure. But it has a big capacity, and the fact that you can actually operate it by removing that blind cap, I think it is... again, in my mind, for all intents and purposes, a piston filler. Nibs, I wish they were number 8, just because I think it would look incredibly cool. This is number 6, but yeah, it works. The section, I've always found that a very interesting shape, but it is very comfortable. Section here matches the material of the barrel. I love that. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna lie. I love this pen, and I don't have that much negative to say about it. So, I hope this was useful. Kind thank you to Joost for lending me this pen, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye bye.